Hello, souls and demons, and welcome back to the show. Today we have several shorter horror stories for you. If you've been enjoying the creepy stories I share with you all, don't forget to leave a nice high rating and maybe a share if you're feeling generous. And with that, let's sit back, grip our seats, and enjoy the show. Alright, this story is called What Really Happened to My Father? Written by XL Moto Camper. No one believed what happened to my father. Even after the famous YouTuber went missing for a week in the same stretch of woods. But Dad was the first to be taken. My father and I decided to go camping to help celebrate his promotion at work. He was a seasoned camper, but I was relatively new to it all. We spent most of the day riding our dirt bikes through a few of the trails towards the bottom of the mountain. But when the sun started to set, we decided to make camp for the night. We set up our tents and I gathered some firewood with Dad. We got a pretty decent-sized fire burning before eating dinner and toasting some marshmallows. When the sun was completely gone, I was genuinely afraid of how many stars there were. Being from the city meant I was only used to seeing a few stars in the night sky, but out here, away from civilization, it was as if I could see the entire galaxy, and it was unsettling. Further putting me on edge, the sounds of various nocturnal insects buzzing and chirping was a lot louder than back home. There weren't any howling wolves, but there was the occasional owl hoot. The trees even groaned a little, swaying in the gentle breeze that blew between them. Dad decided it would be fun to tell a ghost story, and for one of the stories, he had to act out a scene. He stood beside a tree, but as he acted out the scene, I noticed something was carved into the bark. "What do you think that is?" I asked, standing and pointing at the symbols. He frowned a little, disappointed I wasn't very interested in his ghost story. He turned his attention to where I was pointing and continued to frown. "I'm not sure. I kind of noticed it before, but I guess my brain automatically assumed it was just one of those Jack Loves Jane messages that kids like to carve into trees." He leaned down a little and stood in a way that allowed the light from the fire to flicker off of the tree. I followed suit. The symbols had been organized into a diamond pattern, carved a few inches deep into the bark. It looks like a tool was used to carve this, Dad said, running his finger along the side of one of the larger symbols. "It's extremely..." Dad jerked his hand back and sucked on the tip of his finger. He chuckled a little. "Well, I was going to say smooth, but it cut me, so I guess I'm a little wrong." As Dad spoke, the insects stopped buzzing and chirping, the owl stopped hooting, and the gentle breeze that blew through the trees turned into a strong gust. The wind blew some dust into both of our eyes, and we tried to clear them with the back of our hands. We went back to the fire and sat down, but Dad couldn't stop rubbing his eyes. We didn't speak for a few minutes, but when Dad stopped rubbing and looked at me, I gasped and almost scooted back. I can't see," he said, blinking a few more times. "Your eyes," I started, pointing at him. I'd expected his eyes to be a little red from irritation, but instead, both of his eyes were black now. At first I thought they were gone, but as he moved them around trying to look at things, I could tell they were still there, just completely devoid of color. "Dad, I think we need to go to the hospital or something. Your eyes are completely black, like they're covered in soot." That would make sense, I guess. Maybe that gust of wind blew some into my eyes. I can't see a thing." "Okay, here, I'll help you," I started, standing up and moving toward him. I grabbed his arms and helped him to his feet. My mind raced with possibilities when it came to getting help. Since we rode separate dirt bikes to the campground, there was no way he'd be able to ride without vision. It was possible we could walk the bikes out and I could guide him, but that would take forever. Dad, maybe we can walk the bikes out. I can help you so you don't run into anything, does that? But before I could finish, I glanced at the tree with the symbols and was petrified. There on the bark, about a foot above the symbols, was a set of eyes glaring at us. There were no eyelids, just 2 eyeballs wedged into the bark, as if someone had carved out 2 holes and pushed them in. What? What is it? Dad said, bending down to rub his leg. Why did you stop? But it took me a minute or two to formulate a response. I took a few steps back and pulled him with me, and the gaze of the eyes followed us. There are eyes on the tree, I whispered, as if the eyes would hear me and get angry. What, like potato eyes? Like the little white things that sprout on potatoes? Before I could answer, Dad winced and dropped to the ground. He started rubbing his leg even more, and I lifted up his pant leg. Sure enough, like his eyes, his leg was pitch black, including the hair that would normally have been brown. I looked at the tree again, and to my horror, I saw that it now had a leg toward the base of the trunk. I looked at the eyes again, and though it was hard to confirm due to the low lighting of the distance, I swore they were my father's eyes. But instead of being filled with love and compassion like my father's usually were, these eyes were devoid of emotion, just staring at me like a spooky wooden doll. Dad started rubbing his other leg, and I stood up, stepping back. I felt guilty about it later, but my thoughts shifted towards personal preservation, as I questioned whether whatever was happening to him was contagious. He started rubbing his torso and his arms, and a few seconds later, the tree took on those body parts as well. No, 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 I started saying as Dad started rubbing at his face and scalp. Then he stopped moving, becoming a completely black, motionless figure besides the campfire. My heart was racing a mile a minute as I looked at the tree. Embedded in the trunk was the image of my father, complete with his face, which was now twisted into a morbid grin. I shook what used to be my father a few times just in case, never taking my eyes off of the tree. When he gave no response, I grabbed the keys to both bikes and hopped onto mine. I didn't care about our camping supplies or bothered putting out the fire. Instead, I turned the key in the ignition, sighing in relief when it started. Movement on the tree caught my eye, and I watched in terror as the embedded body strained against the bark. It pulled most of itself out, only connected at its back by a few twigs and bits of bark for a while, before finally breaking free. It never blinked. It just glared at me and smirked. When it took a step forward, I twisted back the throttle and sped off, daring a glance every second or so, but happy I'd taken both keys so it at least couldn't pursue me on the bike. I almost biffed it a few times, but managed to make it back to the main road, and then back to my house a couple of hours later. It was the middle of the night, but I banged on the door until Mom opened up. She brought me inside and calmed me down enough for me to try and formulate what I had just witnessed. I tried explaining what happened, but it was too far-fetched for her to believe. She kept shaking her head and saying I was in shock, asking why I had left my father at the campsite. A firm knock at the door pulled both of our attentions, and Mom opened it. There at the threshold was the beast from the forest that had assumed my father's identity. It didn't say a word, but Mom fell on it, embracing it as if she hadn't seen her husband in years. It locked eyes with me, and my heart nearly beat its way out of my chest. I tried to convince Mom that Dad was dead, and the thing that had come home that night was a monster with unknown intentions, but she refused to listen. I even managed to take the cops up to the campsite the next morning. but Dad's body was gone. The symbols were still carved into the tree, but now there was an additional symbol above the others. Since the cops found nothing and Mom refused to believe me, I had no choice but to move out. A few others have gone missing, and I know they were taken by the same creature. And one day I'll figure out a way to fight them. Until then, the best thing I can do is to spread awareness. Smiling, written by Stalker Shrike. A classroom like this, it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Miss Kumalo turned to the old chalkboard with a smile, trying to avoid the mold and grime and broken drywall. Her little schoolroom had seen much better days. Days when the paint didn't peel and the small, dirty windows weren't suffocated by the trees outside. But still, she loved it. After all, it wasn't about looks. It was about the sense of discovery and wonder. A sense that she was sure she could keep lending to, keep filling its occupants with. She picked up the broken chalk and scrawled the word anywhere across its grainy surface. It can take you anywhere you like, any when you like. For instance, she leaned back for a moment, pondering, wondering what would most interest those expectant faces. The Boer War. Who can tell me about the Boer War? One of the students raised their hand, and Miss Kumalo gestured at them with the pointer, grinning from ear to ear. Very good. A war between the British and the Boers, over a matter of independence. But it isn't just about facts. Facts are useless without understanding. She turned back to the chalkboard, her chalk dancing over the dirt, picking out a beautiful scene. She had always wanted to be an artist. She would have been a very good artist, if they hadn't needed a teacher so badly. Imagine what it's like to be in the Battle of Stormberg. Imagine what it's like to be there on the veldt, your horse chuffing under you as the sun crawls up over the horizon. You have your orders from a distant person, a person you will never meet. But here, within the sight of the hill, those orders seem less important. There are enemies up there, hidden up among the brush on that hill. You ride, trying to keep information, fear soaking into you as your companions try and keep straight their masks of courage. And then, bang! She grinned. It was a bit of a game for her, to get the class to jump a little at things like that. Gunshots ring out. One of your companions fall with a scream and a splash of blood. You panic. You charge, imagining the grinning faces of your foe up on that hill. You don't know them, you haven't met them, you don't understand them. But they are firing on you, and if you don't charge them, you're going to die. She finished drawing and turned back to the students, still smiling nervously. She hoped that would cover for the fact that she'd been late that morning. Again. Why was it so hard for her to come to class? The schoolroom was claustrophobic and fetid, yes, but they needed her so badly. But it's not just about whens. Sometimes it's about wheres. The inside of a cell, maybe. Who can tell me about the inside of a human cell? One of the class started describing something. They went on in elaborate detail, and Miss Kumalo nodded and encouraged them on. As they spoke, she drew that on the board as well. The amorphous shape, the spheres and blobs and ripples of organelles lining it. The pills that were mitochondria swirling around within it. And as they finished, she nodded and turned from the board. Now imagine you are that cell, bathed in blood and protein, feeding and metabolizing it into energy and mass, occasionally splitting into a second cell once you are large enough. You are part of a vast, complex whole, a whole you have no knowledge of or ability to comprehend. Sometimes it moves you. Sometimes it gives you what you need. Sometimes it does not. You do not know. You do not think you care. But suddenly, into your membrane, a shape you do not know, that knows the secret back doors into your body. It told you it was a protein, but it lied, and now it is within you. It has gripped your very nucleus, probed into it, unspooled your genetic code, the most private part of you, the part you protect and fight to keep safe. It has taken that part and laid it bare, and it has altered it. Suddenly the creature you were is lost. Your old functions have died, and all that remains is the desire, the need to make more of yourself. But no, not more of yourself, more of it. All those smiling faces, they were enjoying her lesson. That was what kept her going through all of this, bringing them joy. But then there's more to life than just wheres and wins. Sometimes there's whats. Things like the smiling. Who can tell me about the smiling? Every single one of the class raised their hands, as she knew they would. But of course she spoke anyway. She was much too far along not to. The smiling is hungry forever, where everything is upside down and everything has eyes. Where things watch you, things that you will never understand, can never understand, and their smile is everywhere, in every desk and every dead end and etched onto every face. You aren't anything in the smiling. You're nothing to them, and they are everywhere and everything. Fear is your only friend, and you run as fast as you can. And you don't get anywhere. It's insidious. It invades you, and they watch you from on high as you fight and run and plead. They tear you apart and share you and put you back together again. And you don't know who you are when you come out of it. You don't know if your mind is yours or theirs, or if there's even a difference. She could feel her breath starting to get short. Feel herself starting to shake. Those memories were bombarding her, drowning her. The memories of those knot claws vivisecting her personality, of cowering into the corner and realizing in weeping horror that there wasn't anything but them. After all, as much as she'd like to make those chipper metaphors, that hell was the only place this classroom had ever taken her. And then, bang, there's a shock that deafens your soul, and it's over. You don't know how or what or why, any more than you know anything about them. There's no cause, nothing to analyze, it just ends. You don't know when those smiles stopped happening. You don't know when your body and your mind started being yours again. It just ended. But it didn't end. Not really. There will always be smiles, and they will always want something from you. She heard the things the townsfolk said, but no one's there, they'd cry, and in response murmur, "Oh, let her go anyway if it makes her happy." Poor thing never did really recover. She never understood them. Why would they say the classroom was empty when there were so many smiles waiting there? This next story is called My Reflection Keeps Talking to Me by Jack the Cart. I'd never hurt my reflection. Here, let me tell you how nicely I treat it. At 4 a.m. on the dot, I wake up and immediately go to my bathroom mirror. I've repeated this process every day, never missing the exact time once. My reflection always talks to me, but since we are divided by a fine glass structure, I find it hard to hear him. Easy solution. I have learned to lip read ever since I was a young boy. He repeats the same thing every morning I speak with him. "Give me a glass of water." I bolt towards the kitchen, take out a glass, pour water into the glass, then I return. I put the glass down onto the sink and watch him as he deliciously downs the whole drink in 1 second. I do the same, but a little bit slower, taking in the warmness of the beautiful fine liquid. Dinner arrives. Oh, what a joy! I place myself on the table where I feast, not forgetting to include my mirror mate. Me and him eat. Oh, so good. The delicious delight almost makes me burst. I have never, ever in my entire life damaged my reflection. No dents, no scrapes, no nothing. Pure cleanness wins the day. My doctor knows not. He says I am mad. He is rightfully wrong. He tells me I need breaks or I need to relax, and he prescribes me medicine. He knows nothing. Madmen need breaks. Madmen need to relax. Madmen need medicine. I am no madman. He is the mad one here. Riddance of his existence would be fruitful. I took it upon myself to make sure he speaks no more. He is the one who will take the medicine. I place myself in the driver's seat of my car and start to boot up the engine. I put the car mirror in the view of myself, speaking to my reflection along the way. I arrive at the doctor's house, not knowing where to begin. My reflection tells me to start by the bathroom window, as the bathroom would most likely have a mirror located in it. I untighten the screws on the window and I creep inside, not making a peep. As I stare into the mirror, my reflection pulls a sledgehammer out of nowhere and places it on the sink, and wow, it appears on the sink itself. I creep down the hallway, not making a single sound. I soon enough arrive at his bedroom door. I open the door and take a peek. He's wide awake, I can tell. I'm guessing that his superstitions caught up with him, or maybe. Never mind. I stand in his doorway for about half an hour, watching as he squirms and struggles to get back to sleep. He's trying to calm himself, I can tell. It's not going to work, doctor. I think you need to relax. I time the perfect time to pounce and... now. I swing the sledgehammer swiftly at his soft skull. He tries to let out a scream, but is interrupted by the fierce fury of the ferocious weapon. I feel like I might burst. He falls to the ground, the blood seeping onto the floor. It was very easy to dispose of the corpse. I burnt him in his own fireplace. The blood was easily swept up by a singular mop. What was the cover-up story? Glad you asked. He had left the country to become a professional surgeon. The perfect cover-up for the perfect crime. I drive back home, admiring my reflection on the way. At 4 in the morning on the dot, I woke up and immediately went to my bathroom mirror. He said something different today. Fetch me a glass of water. I run to the kitchen and pour the water into the glass. I come back and watch as he deliciously downs the whole drink. I couldn't drink it. I wasn't thirsty. I left my full glass out in the kitchen and poured the liquid into the sink. I had to ask myself, is this even water or is it all just a facade? I came back to the bathroom, only to be greeted by my reflection speaking through the glass. I was fully capable of hearing him. What was this madness? Daring today, aren't we? What? You want to be different now. After all this time in the same routine, this is the day you want to be different. Why are you acting irrationally? That's the same question I'm asking you. But that doesn't matter. You really want to show your true colors now? Go ahead. Be my guest. He pulls out the same sledgehammer again. The same one used to kill the doctor. Do it. Destroy me. You want to be different. Destroy me. No, I can't. Destroy me. Destroy me. Show them all. Show them all. Show them all who you truly are. I swung the hammer at the mirror, smashing it into little tiny pieces. I was free. I could show them who I truly am. Give me a glass of water, I said to myself. Thanks for listening, my fair souls and demons. If you want to keep up with the latest in my life or the podcast, you can find me on Twitter under the handle @DemonCreepyYT, or just clicking my Twitter link in the description. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.